Welcome to another episode of Latitude Design, and on this video I'm going to be giving you the ultimate guideline to how to calculate your interior design and renovation fees in Malaysia. Now, one of the biggest issues in calculating custom renovation interior design fees is that there's so many variables involved. For example, every company and professional has their own system and own pricing strategy. Also, each property is unique to itself, and there's also the added fact that you need to tailor to your custom preferences. So how do you pick the right designer, and how do you know how much your project is going to cost? So the goal of this video is to provide you with a comprehensive guideline to give you the clarity you need to make these decisions. Now, I've already written a full-length article on this that you can find on our website. However, if you're looking for a more in-depth and more detailed explanation, then this video is right for you. So start off, before we get into how to calculate your pricing, I'm going to talk a little bit about the misconceptions and a lot of questions that we get from clients based off our 18 years of experience. And this is how we formulated this guideline for you. So one of the first things we typically get asked is, what are your rates? So what I want you to understand is that, first of all, when it comes to bespoke interior design, there are no fixed fees. Okay. Now, you'll come across companies that offer you a flat rate based on the total square foot of your property. Typically, what we find is companies who are able to do this usually offer just one generic material quality standard, and as well as pre-made built-in furnitures. So this is why they're able to offer you a flat rate based on packages that they offer you. But when you go into the bespoke sector and you're customizing everything from scratch, that's when things get a little tricky, because not only is each design and the style you choose and the materials and the level of quality of each material affect the price. That's when you need when things get tricky, because you're customizing the fees. So there is no fixed package. Now, another question that we get is, what's the tier of quality, right? So right now you need to think about that when you customize, when you go like artisanal and bespoke, each quality that you go for has multiple tiers. So even the standard tier is still considered the lowest benchmark for luxury, just like how you go for a fashion brand, for example. There's brands like Zara, which is a good quality brand, and then you have Coach, and then Chanel, and then Hermes, right? So all of these luxury brands are quality products, but each one is on a different tier of its own and has a different pricing range of its own. So you can't really compare between, why is Zara charging me higher than Hermes, right? They're both great products, but all in different leagues. So when it comes to renovation, you can have high quality materials, like for example, marble, and multiple tiers of marble. So for example, you have something like called Carrara marble, which is a very abundant form of marble and is usually the most affordable type. And then you also have, in the highest spectrum, is Calcutta marble, which is one of the more rarer stones of marble. And you'll be charged a higher price for that because it's a more luxury quality stone. So even though you're getting the same material, it's a different quality tier of material. So when you get quotes as you're surveying from different professionals, you might get one quoting you the same slab size of marble, while another one is giving you a different price. So the key here is to not compare between the pricing, but to understand at what quality each professional is pricing you at. Now, another thing to take note of is that the more work involved in the project, or the more details that would be required for the design, the more work that would be involved, and the more craftsmanship and the higher price. So for example, let me show you a few examples here. Here you go. Here we have a classical design. Okay. Now, as you can see in the classical design, there's a lot of details involved in the plastering and the walls and the wainscoting. A lot of attention to detail. And this type of work typically requires skilled craftsmen that aren't readily available that can do this type of work. So naturally, when you choose a design style like this, with all this Roman, colonial, columns, all these details, your project will cost more because there's more work involved to get it done, right? So when you go for something, say, that's more minimal, like this will be a lot more affordable than something at the same, because you can have the same quality tier. So this and this can be using the same material quality, but because in a minimal design, there's less features and it's more just like sleek, clean, features, there's less work to be done. Hence, this type of style will cost less, even if the quality is at the same level. So you're using the same quality of wood, but because there's less details, less craftsmanship involved, lower price. Makes sense? Okay, so the next one. Also, another thing to note about the work involved is that when you start adding stuff like construction, demolition, hacking, relocating of, let's say, your bathroom or your toilet, or you're building up a new structure like a wall or an extension, this adds to the price of your project. The reason being is that, again, more work involved, more legal contracts, and more supervision. So the moment you start changing the layout of your property, the higher your costs will go. Versus just using the existing layout of your property and doing refurbishment and built-in features following the existing layout. Now, another question we get a lot is, why are contractors cheaper? So the reason contractors will charge you cheaper is because there's a difference between the type of service that a contractor provides for you and a professional designer provide for you. Contractors are paid for the execution of the project. Meanwhile, a designer is charging you a service fee. So when a designer charges you a fee, they're giving you this all-rounding fee, which includes the A to Z service, right? Because there's no middleman, they're like the director of the show. They'll make sure that the quality is ensured, any complaints get settled, and they're held liable to fix the situation. So you might hire a contractor to do, let's say, fix your lighting socket. He might charge you like 50 ringgit, whereas a designer might charge you 100 ringgit. But that's because the designer is held accountable to make sure that if anything goes wrong, that it needs to be fixed. So the designer would hire a contractor to get it done, and they'll supervise the project. Versus if you were to hire a contractor, you would be the one dealing with the contractor and having to make sure that everything is going correctly. Whereas using the designer and their professional experience hold the contractors accountable. So you're charging them a service fee to make sure that the job is done correctly, as well as after sales service. Again, contractors are for execution, designers are service fee. Okay, another question is, why are furniture manufacturers cheaper? Now, this is a big one, okay? So ready-made furniture is always cheaper than custom-made furniture because manufacturers have the added benefit of having economy of scale and mass production, and they produce things in modular units and they replicate furniture at the same dimensions. So for example, you're buying a TV cabinet instead of custom making a TV cabinet, you're limited to the dimensions provided by those manufacturers. Another thing is that manufacturers, you will use a mixture of materials to drive the cost down. So versus when you get something custom made from a carpenter, you're getting the original material without any adulterated mixtures. So for example, the lowest benchmark of quality at the standard level from a carpenter will always be higher quality than anything you can buy on the market that's ready made. So if you custom make a TV cabinet, again, if you go for the standard material from a custom carpenter, will be higher quality than something you buy from IKEA, for example, because IKEA is manufacturing at a large amount, so they're able to reduce the cost, and also they're mixing materials to get it at a cheaper rate. And there's also the fact that when you customize it, you're getting original furniture that's unique to your property. So you're not getting the replicated dimensions, which sometimes can be a hindrance depending on your property, but instead you're getting custom tailored to fit your property, which is why the price will be higher. Now we're going to get into the pricing. Okay. So what we're going to talk about now is the price to quality ratio. Let me just show you the chart I made here. So here is the price to quality ratio. Now, the way I want you to think about this chart is it's just a range for the scope of work that you'll get. So here, even though I mentioned earlier there are no fixed fees for the square foot, what this is, it's a range to show you at what quality the price you get at that tier. And this is an all-encompassing fee for the built-in furniture, the plaster ceiling, and the lighting. So, for example, at the standard tier, the 70 ringgit per square foot, you can expect that you're getting like melamine material for your project. And then as you upgrade to premium range, at this range, you're starting to get laminate, which is more durable to wear and tear and is a higher quality material. And let's say you're like, okay, no, I want solid wood carpentry. That's when you enter this range. So when you enter the solid wood carpentry, you know that when you're being charged 150 ringgit per square foot, that the quality you should be getting is spray painted in solid wood, which is like something that gets better with time and ages well with time. And it's also more aesthetic and more durable than any of these other tiers. So you can go through this chart on our website, and anything higher than 150 ringgit per square foot is a royal quality, as we like to call it, which is at this point, whatever you can imagine can be real. Now, the reason I made this chart for you is so that you can calculate an estimate for your project based on this tier. So for example, let's see. Yeah. If you had a property that's 3,000 square foot, okay, and you want it at standard tier, so you're going to times this by 70, okay, and you'll get a price of, what is that, roughly 200,000, okay. So this will include your built-in furniture, your plaster ceiling, and your walls and your lighting. So this 70 ringgit is just an estimate range. So if you pay anything between 180,000 to 200,000, you're getting the standard material quality. So let's say you want something more durable and more longer lasting, you would opt in for the premium range. So you'll times this by 100 for your whole property. This is again, no fixed fees. And this is assuming you're going to renovate the entire 3,000 square foot. But in reality, you won't always cover every square foot of the house. There'll be areas where they won't need any design. And that's when your prices will fluctuate. But as you're in the early phases of your project and you're just trying to get a rough estimate for how much it would cost to do, let's say, your dream house with the best quality ever, what you'll do is you'll times this by 150 to 180 per square foot. So if you do that, if you have a 3,000 square foot property, times that by 150, okay, that's 450,000, all the way up to 550,000 plus. You know, the sky's the limit at this point. You can go up to 1 million, depending however you want it. But roughly, you can assume that if you allocate 450,000, this should cover your house to give you the most high-end materials to cover your entire square foot. Make sense? So you can go back to this chart, and because these aren't fixed tiers, this is just to again give you the price to quality ratio. So you can always mix match between tiers. So for example, let's say you're someone who is a deep sleeper, values their sleep, and wants to make sure that the master bedroom is as best as it can be. So this case, you would take the square foot of your master bedroom and you opt in for the artisanal range. And then maybe say, for example, something that's not so as important is like your laundry room that needs some built-in features as well. You can always opt in for the standard tier. And the standard tier is, again, as mentioned earlier, even though it's the lowest range of quality, it's still what we consider the minimum benchmark for affordable luxury, and it's still better than anything you buy ready-made on the market. So even opting for standard is great. Yeah. So, and then let's say, for example, you want your living room to be the premium range. So you can mix match based on your areas of importance. Okay. Now, once you have all these fees calculated, how do you, yeah, also, I forgot to mention that these quality tiers do not include the price for hacking or extension works or any new structures built, okay? This is just for built-in features, the plaster ceiling, the lighting, and the walls. So the reason that this formula we created, that we've tested throughout our years of experience, that you can more or less use as a comprehensive formula for your project, the reason we don't include extensions and new constructions is because for us to calculate that type of fee, typically you would need a site visit because it's based on the current condition of your property as well as your personal choices that you make. For example, what kind of flooring you're going to choose or how big the wall you're going to build. So, which is why when you want to quote for extension works or demolition works, typically you need a site visit to do that. Now, I will write a new article on how to calculate construction fees, as we've managed to come up with a formula for basic construction, but that's a video for another end. So once you've calculated your fees, what you're going to do is you want to know how your fees are broken down and where the money flow is, right? So how you want to know how much goes to your project and how much does the designer pocket. The reason you need to know this is because once you have this transparent breakdown, you can feel confident in whoever you're hiring is being honest about where the money is being spent. So you're not spending 300,000 and then maybe the designer's pocketing 30% and you think you're getting a 300,000 home, but maybe you're getting something that's like for 200 in terms of material quality. So it's very important to use this designer fee structure. If that company is using the typical fair practices, then this is usually the rates that we find. So let's go through that together. Here you have the purchase fees to buy the materials. So 54% of your budget of, let's assume 300,000 here. Okay, let's use that. So 54%, when the designer gives you a quotation for this, 54% will go into purchasing the materials that are going to be required to build your project. So that's more than half the project going back into your home. Okay. Now, there's a 7% fee that will be used to create drawings, which is paying the professionals to create the detailed drawings, the 3D renders, the concept boards. So all this will be used for the labor force. Okay. And 28% of your project will go. Also, these are drawings that end up going back to you. So you get to own these drawings, of course. It's your blueprints. It's how you will be used to assess the project. It's what the contractors will use to build the house. So when it comes to the renovation part, 28% is the cost paid to the workers and the craftsmen to build the designs. Okay. And as well as the project management and quality control and all that. So 2% is all the logistics and travel fees for moving the materials and the workers, the pickups and the drop-offs, anything to do with logistics. So when it's all said and done, the net profit of the company is anything between 9 to 12%, depending on the scope of the project and how big it is. So this is what the actual profit, the gain that the company keeps after the project is over. So they charge you 300,000 and what they actually get to walk away from, which is like their service fee, is about anywhere between 27K, okay, to 12% of that, which is, I'm calculating this in real time, by the way, okay. 36,000. So that's how much they actually pocket. And you can ask, now that you know this, whenever you approach someone, you can ask them, what is their net profit? How much of this is going into your purchase materials? And you can use this as a way to gauge the practices of the company you're hiring. Okay, so now that you've understood all these things, how do you, like, now you know we went over the pricing of the material quality and the different tiers, and now the transparent fee structure. So the next question is, how do you allocate a budget for your project? And this is something we get a lot, especially with people who are new to renovation. They'll ask us, okay, well, I'm not sure how much money I should put in this project. I don't even know what this would cost, or like, how do I allocate based on my goals or the vision I'm imagining? Like, I don't know. Can you help me? So what I did here is I've created a time management schedule. This is something I use for time management. However, I found that it's very useful for renovation as well. So whenever you have a lot of variables involved in anything you're doing and you want to break it down in terms of importance, what I found useful is breaking it into these three categories, which is big rocks, small rocks, and water. And I'll explain to you how this works in a second. So imagine you have a jar, okay, a glass jar, and your big rocks are what we call your non-negotiables. So they're the things you're going to try and fit into your jar, which is, let's say, your budget. Okay, you're going to fit your big rocks, which is your non-negotiables. So here we're like the living room, kitchen. This is just an example, right, in your bedrooms. And then the small rock is what's next in line after you've completed your big rocks. So your jar, fill it up with small rocks. They fill in the spaces that the big rocks haven't, right? Because you want to make sure that the big rocks enter first. And then your water fills up whatever free space remains in that jar, so that your jar is full and you only deal with the water if there's any extra room left after you've added your big rocks and your small rocks. So here you can just see these examples that I placed here. Your water would be like, maybe special kind of painting, smart features, profiling and trims, whereas your big rocks would be like your major areas, but this is entirely personal to you, and you can use this to divide it on what's personal to you. So at least this way, when you approach a designer, not only have you already calculated an estimate based on the quality you're expecting and how much you want to pay, but you also already know what areas you want to focus on first in line of importance. So this way, the communication between you and your designer will be very cohesive and very natural, and you'll feel like that you're part of the project, and they'll be able to create a design concept that you can appreciate and that's aligned with your preferences. Not only that, but this will help you choose a designer that can match what you're trying to achieve. So what I want to leave you with is, keep in mind that these strategies only serve as a general estimate, and that in the end of the day, in order for you to get an actual accurate calculation, you would need to set up a site visit. You would need to have the designer come over and create a concept for you. Only then can you get a quotation that's actually accurate to the project you want to achieve. So this can just help you in the beginning phases. And to add to that further, what I want you to remember is that the renovation part is broken down into two phases. There's a design phase and then the renovation phase. So in the design phase, so let me go back to the whiteboard for a second. Okay, let's just erase this. So let's say you got a quotation for 300,000, right? And they tell you that this is the total cost to do the whole project. Okay, this is the total fee to take something from A to Z. Now, when you start, you're not going to pay this 300,000 right off the bat. So it's broken down to two phases, the design phase and the renovation phase. Now, the design phase is broken down into three steps. The concept, okay? This is where you get your mood board and your just initial, this is what we can make for you. And then number two would be the 3D images. So the 3D would be a simulation of what the end product would like, and it's scaled to your property. So it's like whatever you see is what you get. And it's like a simulation before you begin the project. And then number 3 is detailed drawings. So this is what the drawings that the contractor will use to build the designs. And the detailed drawings are based off the 3D, which is based off the concept. Okay. And number 4 is already the renovation part. So this is the design part. This is the renovation part. Now, when you start your project, you're only going to pay, it's like a staggered form of payment. So this 300K is for this entire phases, all 4 phases. But you're only going to commit to a payment to each phase that you're at. So first you start the concept, you pay the fee for the concept. Once that's completed, only then do you pay the 3D fee and, so on and so forth, the detailed drawings. And then once all this is confirmed, do you actually pay whatever is remaining from this 300K. So step 1 to 3 would be deducted from your 300K. And then once you move to the renovation, you pay whatever's remaining. Let's say the remaining part is 250. Let's say you spent 50K on step 1 to 3, and the remaining will be for the renovation. So overall, you spend that 300,000. And again, within the first phase, this concept phase, you'll get a concept plus an accurate quotation of what it would cost to build this concept. But as you move along the phases and your design gets more and more articulate and detailed, the fee will change along the way, because you can only get the final fee once you've reached the detailed drawing phase. The reason is because in the detailed drawings, everything's been finalized to the exact millimeter, the material specifications, and the confirmed design. And once you've confirmed that design, do you get the final dollar and cents cost for the entire project. So now you're thinking, but wait, what if, the designer tells me it's 300,000 and then by step 3, it's a different fee? Well, that's why the concept phase is the most important phase, which is where the expectations are set, and whatever quotation, if they're following fair practices, whatever quote you get in the concept will be used as the guideline for every step of the way. So if you agree upon 300,000, as you go to 3D in the detail, the designer will make sure that they don't cross the pre-agreed upon quotation that they provided you in the concept, right? So they'll give you that estimate, and then they'll work their way throughout as the project continues, and so that by the end of the detail phase, you don't get a quotation that you're surprised. So if you, let's say in the 3D phase, you decide you want to add you see, oh, okay, I think I like this design, I want to add a bit more features, and this will change the cost a bit. And at each phase, you'll get a updated quotation. So this way, you're kept, in the loop all the way up to the details. You confirm the design, you confirm the final quotation, you confirm the project schedule. Only then do you pay the remaining fee and start the renovation project. So that is our entire guideline. I hope that this made sense for you. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. This guideline will help you survey the market and choose the right designer for you. And if you're looking to get a quotation directly from professionals, click the link in the description of this video, and our team would be gladly happy to help you with your inquiry. So without further ado, my name is Amr. I'm the content producer for Latitude Design, and I'll see you on the next video.